Good evening, guys. Tonight, just want to engage on a lot of things that are happening in our lives recently. Things which are basically just causing a lot of panic, a lot of concerns, a lot of doubts, a lot of just distractions, basically, when it comes to our marriages. There just seems to be a lot that is happening. There just seems to be a lot of things that people around us, people we know or people we don't know, are going through. And unfortunately, that is affecting our marriages, negatively. We look at how people live their lives. We look at the challenges and the successes. But it seems like nowadays we are focused more on the negative side of marriage. We gravitate more on the marriages that fail. We gravitate more on things that are just so destructive, even to those that have been married for a very long time. One thing that puzzles me is the fact that it is not only newlyweds who are actually more doubtful and more afraid and more concerned about the challenges that marriages go through. You find people that have been married for a very long time also panicking as a result of the things that are happening all around us. And that for me is a bit of an issue, and it raises a lot of things which perhaps as married folks we need to go back and check and just evaluate our marriage journey so we can be able to understand where we are and if we are still on the right path, or if we are still as committed as we think we are. Because I've noticed that more than anything else, nowadays, a lot of people, we just exist in our marriages. We basically exist. It's like we are just there taking care of responsibilities. We are just there doing what we're supposed to do, and as good as all those things are, we still find ourselves panicking when we see someone that we look up to, when we see a marriage that we've been looking up to crumbling or failing, and then we start having a lot of issues even in us. It's like when we see a marriage maybe hitting rock bottoms, it's like that is when we get an opportunity to look at ours. And that is a bit of a concern as to why aren't we doing this regularly? Why are we not checking on each other? Why are we not checking ourselves as to whether we are still as committed as we have been from the onset? If we are as loving, as understanding and caring for one another as we think we are? Because honestly speaking, there's quite a lot that is happening. There's quite a lot that is happening around us, things which, some of which we unfortunately cannot ignore, some of which we have to engage on. But it's quite evident that those things are basically just taking us away from ourselves. Those things are taking us away from being man and wife. They are taking us away from doing things which should uh, create our marriages a healthy environment. I understand that yes, we want to work, we want to run businesses, we want to run ministries, we want to engage on our passions, on our gifts and things like that. But it seems like we just don't give enough time to pull back and figure out, with the amount of time and energy and even money that we are giving out there to the things that we believe we have to do, are we perhaps not missing it ourselves? Are we perhaps not losing ourselves in those? Are there things, or else are the marriages that fail, or that the divorces that we see happening just before us, are they the only reason we make time for ourselves or to evaluate our marriages? Does it really have to take someone's marriage falling or crumbling for you to start looking at your own marriage, for you to start looking at yourself and say, am I really on the right path? Am I still loving my spouse like I should? Am I still committed to my marriage as I should? Because I don't want to lie to you, I was having this similar conversation on Facebook where I just wanted to really understand as to why does it have to take someone's marriage failing for us to look at ours? Why does it have to do that? Why does it have to take someone's marriage failing publicly so for us to start thinking, am I still committed? Do I still love? Why are marriages under attack? This is something that we hear recently as if it's a new thing. Marriages have been under attack. They've been under attack from the onset. It's not a new thing. It's not a new thing. We know that the enemy hates marriages. We know that this is a God ordained institution, and therefore it is a foundation to families. It's a foundation to communities and to the nations and to the world, and it doesn't start now. But why is it that we start having these concerns when we see other marriages failing around us? Why is it that you only have to wait, even if you're not looking at somebody else's marriages failing, but you have to wait up until something bad happens in your own marriage for you to start paying attention? Why do we have to wait up until then? Why do we have to only pay attention when things are already falling apart? Why do we have to evaluate our walk in the marriage when things are already where one is like, I'm giving up, I can't do this? Why is it that we become so difficult to live with others and only realize that when we are right at the end of the journey, when things are about to crumble? Why is it that we only want to change and become better people when it is just too late? I know that we always say, no, it's never too late to actually work on your marriages. But I can be honest with you. Sometimes it can be too late when you just leave things or behave in a way that is just not healthy for a marriage, and you are suffocating one abatu, and you are just not being the person that you're supposed to be. It's challenging, and I'm saying it gets too late because someone can only take and take and take as much as you are giving. That is so bad that they end up healing while they are with you through the ordeal that you're putting them through. They end up healing, they end up learning to live without you, they end up getting to a point where they feel like, now I'm comfortable enough to say, you know what, let this person live their life and then I will live mine. Why do we have to wait up until that point where someone says, I've had it? This really triggered me because the responses and the reaction, especially when it comes to Siyakulis's divorce, it just really puzzled me. It puzzled me to a point where I'm like, really, we are not paying attention to our marriage journey. We are not paying attention to our walk with our spouse on the love journey. And we only wait when we see things happening to others, or when we experience serious things in our marriages whereby we now want to become these right people. We want to become these good people, whereby someone has taken years and years just trying to figure out how this person can behave better. They are trying their best. They are praying for you. They are trying to encourage you. They seek help. They are trying their level best to say, we want to work on our marriage. I want to work on our marriage. I know it's going to work. I know we're going to overcome this. But why does it have to get to that point? I always say to people, There's a difference between we are going through a lot in our marriage and I am going through a lot in my marriage. And I'm going to explain it to you. If I am putting my wife through things which I'm not supposed to be doing, if I am cheating on her, if I am abusing her, if I'm not being the man that I'm supposed to be, if I'm not taking care of my responsibilities as I'm supposed to be, if I am making her miserable, if I am bringing the side chicks into the marriage, and then it is not for her to say, hey, we are going through a lot in in our marriage. Yes, she has the right to say, oh, I'm going through a lot in my marriage because I am putting her through a lot. I am putting her through a lot. And you know what? It makes it difficult and challenging for things to work out because we are not facing a lot in our marriage, but I am bringing issues that would make her feel like, you know what, I'm actually alone on this journey. So we can't always say, hey, there's a lot going on in my marriage, and we are facing such a lot, whereas I'm actually bringing issues into the marriage. It can be any form of issue that I am bringing. So why does it have to get to that point where I wait up until things get so bad for me to change and become the person that I'm supposed to be, for me to be the loving and caring and understanding person and forgiving person that I'm supposed to be, for me to carry out my responsibilities as a man and as a husband or even as a father? Why do we have to wait up until things are terrible for us to be good? And more so, why do we have to wait up until we see someone failing in their marriage for us to pay attention to ours? Why? That to me doesn't really make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. Why, from the moment I get married, why don't I commit from there and there that I'm going to I'm going to give my utmost best to making sure that I make this journey as loving and as comfortable as can be. Yes, you will encounter trials and tribulations along the way, but one thing you need to understand is that it is better when those trials are actually attacking your marriage being the both of you, because then you'll be able to fight it together. But think about those that you are the one who's actually bringing them into the marriage. And then you expect your spouse to pray, to fast, to seek help, to do this, whereas you are the one who's bringing all that into the marriage. It really doesn't make sense for me. It doesn't make sense. We really don't need to, somebody once said, we both adults. We both adults. When we get married, we are adults. But at the end of the day, I've realized that some people get married, but they're not adults, or they don't behave like adults, or they don't want to conduct themselves. They don't want to think like they are adults, and they still need to be spoon-fed. They still need to be pulled. They still need to be told, this is how you do things. And you wonder, why did this person get married if they are not yet there? I know that marriages is an ongoing process of growth, but there are certain things which should just be the foundation for you to start working on. There are certain things which, the basic things that you need to have: loving, caring, understanding, committing, having a forgiving heart, having a generous heart. We need to have those, being faithful to your person, being respectful to your spouse. Those are the basic foundations. But why did you get married if you still need to be taught those things? What were the reasons why you got married? Because I believe that is one of the things that makes people to panic whenever they see something happening to marriages around them, or else when something bad happens in their own marriage. That is when they start panicking. They just don't know how to handle it. They just don't know how to respond or to react to it, because there is no foundation. There was no foundation. I know that a lot of people will say, you know what, marriage has got no formula. It's not one size fits all. We are different. We do things differently and things like that. Of course, I do believe with you. But one thing that I can guarantee you is that marriage submit to the same principles and boundaries. Marriage, for it to succeed, for it to be successful, you need to submit yourself to the same principles and boundaries that we all submit to, because love has principles and has boundaries. How you do it, how you work around it, yes, of course, might be different. It's not a one size fits all. But when it comes to the foundation that holds a marriage together, those ones are the same across board. Unless if we adopt cultures that teaches us certain things which are not traditionally inclined to love, so if we're saying marriages are different, they don't have to operate on the same path, why is it that when we don't love each other in that marriage, we hate each other? Why is it that if someone cheats in that marriage, the other one gets hurt? Why is it that if someone is not transparent or not honest or not showing any sense of commitment, we get hurt? It breaks the marriage. It's simply because those are the basic foundations that are needed for every marriage. How you guys respect one another it's totally up to you, but respect is one of the basic foundations of marriage. How you guys love one another, you can do it differently, but the basic part of it is that marriage requires love. How you guys commit to one another might be in different ways, but the bottom line is that commitment is required in marriage. That is the basic need for a marriage to succeed. So how you guys build on that is what will determine whether you're going to be successful or you are not going to be successful. Because at the end of the day, you need to sit and think, if I am not faithful, if I am not committed, if I am not loving and caring and understanding and forgiving, if I am not willing to grow on this journey, then what is this marriage basically standing on? I understand that nowadays we have a lot of transactional marriages, but at the end of the day, even those that are in the transactional marriages, they still get hurt. They still, I can give you as much money as you want, but if I'm not faithful to you, you are going to get hurt. You are not going to say, no, well, it's fine. I have my money. He's giving me money anyway. Unless if you have really lost your sense of identity or your sense of belonging, or your loving senses have escaped you, whereby you just don't care what this person does as long as they're giving you money, which is the trend, which is the culture nowadays. But at the end of the day, when that very same person cheats on you, you're going to cry. You can't just say, okay, well, at least I've got $1 million in my bank account. You're not going to do that. So hence I'm saying marriages submits to the same principles and boundaries which forms part of the foundation. If you don't have that, trust me, it is not going to work. It is not going to work well. You can be as good as can be in everything that you do, in making money, in doing that. But if there is no basic foundation upon which you guys build everything, that marriage is still going to crumble. I'm not sure if I'm making sense, because it really concerns me that we are at a point where we feel like we want to run marriage the way we want to run it. We want to do things that are not even conducive for marriage. We want to behave in a way that really does not work in marriage, and we think that we can recreate marriage. We found marriage here. It has always been here, and now if when you want to come up with your own things, thinking that you can change this institution, whereas you already found it here with its own principles and boundaries, but when you want to convince one about to accept things which are not conducive for the marriage environment, you're going to break that person or you're going to kill the marriage. That is just as it can be. It's just how it is going to be. So you need to decide as a human being. You need to get to a point where you say, can I be matured enough? If I don't know or understand anything, then let me rather embark on learning. Let me seek knowledge. Let me seek wisdom so that I can walk this path. Because if you don't do that, you are the very same person who's going to be tossed to and fro because you just don't know where you stand. You don't have a solid foundation where you can build your marriage on. When marriages fail, when people say negative things about marriage, you are the first person to actually panic. You are the first person to doubt. Sometimes even when things are going well in your marriage, you are just going to panic because you've got nothing to work on. Why can't we become the people that we're supposed to be? Why can't you become the husband that you're supposed to be? Why can't you become the wife that you're supposed to be? Submitting to the principles and the boundaries of those that have been working for those that decide to submit themselves to. Why do you feel like when you can run love the way you think you can run it, yet you did not create this institution called love? You did not create it. You don't even know its DNA. You don't actually understand the mechanisms and the methods that should make it work. But when you want to run it like it is yours, so you are bringing the phony you who actually wants to just try and change things which are not meant to change. Because the moment you change the foundation of a house and putting in things which are not conducive, that are not going to make it concrete, the things that are not going to make it solid, unfortunately, you are building on nothing. That is why the word says, unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain, those that build it. We want to control this. We want to create a culture of recreating something and wants to own it as if it is ours. And I'm going to tell you, it is not yours. You can't recreate marriage. It is there. It's been created from the foundations of the earth, and that is just how it's going to be. So if you want to succeed in it, that means you're going to have to learn to submit to the principles and the boundaries on the foundation. Because if you don't and you want to do your own things, which will not help you to cement that foundation, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere. So, why is it that when things like this happen, you panic? Why is it that when marriages are facing divorces, you panic? Why is it that every time you hear something negative about marriage, you want to sabotage yours? Whereas things are fine, things are working fine. Why do you find yourself in that position where your mind is just not content with who you are and where you are within the identity of a marriage? Why is it that you always have to panic? Why is it that you always have to, go in both directions? No, marriage is worse. I know marriage is good. I know marriage is boring. Look at this. Look at who. Look at that one. Look at this. Why do you always have to find yourself listening to all the voices that are around you instead of you having to sit back and say, that is not what I know marriage to be. Now this is where I am in my marriage, and this is how I need to live my marriage. This is how I need to live in my marriage. This is who I am supposed to be in order to ensure that my marriage works, my marriage succeed. And remember, it is not a one-sided thing. It's a team effort. It's a collective effort. When it comes to marriage, we both have to commit to the basic principles and boundaries of marriage. That is what can help us. Sometimes you gotta have to be a little bit, how do I say it? Be like a child, whereby the moment you get into marriage with those principles and boundaries, you are ready to learn. You are ready to absorb the good information, the wisdom, and the knowledge about marriage. You are just ready to teach one another as couples. You are ready to engage in things that are gonna make the marriage journey good for you, bearable for you, comfortable for you, to a point whereby even when you experience challenges, you would know at least how to resolve them, where to seek help, how to go by seeking the help. You will know that, you know what, at least we are facing this as a marriage. I am not made to experience things which are not supposed to be part of our marriage journey. Ask yourself, why did so many people panic about Sia's divorce? I just need to understand that. Why did so many people now start voicing their concerns? Yeah, vele, hey, marriages never work. Men, vele, they cheat. You know what? Perhaps Rachel did this. There's just a whole lot of speculations, and you are wasting your time listening to that. And as you listen to it, it creates panic. I'm telling you, I've been engaging even with people whose marriages are fine, but they're like, yo, I know, hey, marriages are tough, and you're like, hey man, okay, are you experiencing similar things? No, but marriages are tough. Are you going through the same thing? No, but marriages are tough. Are you really content in being married? So much that no matter what happens, no matter what failures are there, when you are content and you are happy that you are married, are you content with the fact that you are married? Because I can tell you there's a lot of people who are still in doubt, and not only the newlyweds, and I've seen that in most cases the newlyweds are really, really, committed to the journey, because nobody gets married to divorce. And the best way we can absorb this, the best way we can build a solid foundation to our marriages is if we understand that we have to submit to the basic principles and boundaries that governs love. Love has no formula. No, marriage has no formula. That's a lie. That is a lie. And that is the reason why many people fail in it. Because it even starts from the relationship stage. No, we don't need to do things the way people are doing. You don't, of course, you don't need to do things the way people are doing, but make sure that the basic foundation is solid. Make sure that that which you want to build your relationship or marriage on is solid. Because if it is not, which means you are not willing to submit to the boundaries of love, then it's not going to get anywhere. It's not going to get anywhere. There will be that panic. There will be that concerns. There will be those doubts. Am I really in this? Am I really comfortable in this? Do I really want to be in this? One thing that really, one question that really broke my heart when somebody asked it right here on TikTok some time ago was, if you had the opportunity to marry your spouse, to marry the same spouse that you're with, would you do it? Would you still marry that person? It was a painful thing to watch and to hear. A lot of people, almost 90% of those comments were saying, never, never, I would not. And it made me wonder, what exactly are we doing in marriage? Who are we in marriage? Why are we married? If we are putting each other through so much that your own spouse end up saying, I wish I was not married to you. I wish I was never married to this person. Why? Is it something that we cannot change? Are we not at that point where we can say, look, let me change. Let me be a right person. Let me be the right person. And as I shared last time on my Facebook Live, I said, sometimes you can be so good and so good at doing things so well and the right things, but fail to be the right person yourself. You can take care of responsibilities and do your utmost best in making sure that you are providing, that you are always here at home, that you are working for your family, that you are running the business as well, that you are so good at work, in ministry and everything, but still miss to be the right person. It can happen. I'm sure you guys have actually come across spouses who are saying, you know what, you are never here for me. You are just never here for your family. And you find that this person is working. It can be the husband or the wife. This person is working and they are making money. They're living in mansions, driving beautiful cars and things like that. But this person will still complain and say, but you are hardly ever here. You are not here. So you are not a good husband to me. You are not a good wife. You are not. But this, like Emma, I got married. I made sure that we are providing. I make sure that everything is in place. But what is your problem? Because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and that is what we are good at. We are good at doing what we are supposed to be, but we are not good at being who we are supposed to be to one another. And that is where marriages crumble. And instead of us paying attention when our spouses talk about it and say, hey, look, I need you here. I need your support. I need your mental and emotional presence. I need not only your physical presence, because that we can do so well, but I need your spiritual, mental, and emotional presence in my life. You wonder, but I'm here, Mos. And they're like, no, you are not. No, but what are you talking about? I'm always at home and I'm here on time. But you are not there. That simply means that we've been consumed by what we are doing so much that we do it so well, and we're thinking that is who we are. And we have to be able to separate that. How many people do you know who are complaining that my spouse is such a workaholic? It's a workaholic. Yes, of course, we've got a good life. But you know what? I still feel lonely. I still feel like I'm not supported. I feel like, sometimes, like I'm saying, you want to give and give and give and do for your spouse, and forget to give yourself. It is possible. There's a thin line. But we just need to try and understand that, no, man. How can we do things better? How can we do things better? And you find that unless we decide to pay attention and take heed to the cries, we are never going to be able to get right. We are never going to be able to tend to be the right people that we are. Because what the world is doing nowadays is teaching us to be good at what we do, but never teaches us or influence us to be good at who we're supposed to be. And when it gets to that point, that is why you see a lot of marriages not working. That is why you see a lot of marriages just panicking and shaking when things happen. That is why you see a lot of people being miserable in marriages that when you look at from a distance, they look so fine. They seem so fine. That is why you find people in situations where they say, you know what, this person doesn't understand. This person, I'm supposed to work. And of course, you're supposed to work. I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to make money. I'm supposed to run this ministry. I'm supposed to do that. I'm supposed to be that. But in your supposed to, are you also focusing on enhancing your being where you are needed the most? Why is there such a gap? Why do we fail to create a balance? And worse, why is it that even when your spouse alerts you to the fact that you are missing here, you still want to focus on what you can do so well and on what you can do so good, and forget who you are supposed to be? That is why you find a lot of people now. Shem, he was a good man, he was a good provider. She was a good mother. she really knew how to take care of the house. She knew how to take care of business. She knew how to do her work. He knew how to be this and that. But they suck at being spouses. No, but at being husband, he was terrible. He was terrible. Now at being a wife, I know she was terrible. And that is simply because we have missed our point of being. We have missed our point of being, where I'm supposed to be a husband to a wife who needs me, where we have to focus and to enhance and to always evaluate our process of soul mating, where we need to make sure that we align our spirit, our souls. But the best alignment that we ever give to one another is the physical alignment. That is why we've got evidence, Yabana. We've got evidence of babies that, when it comes to the physical alignment, Allah, that one, we can do so well, we can do so good. But what about that mental and emotional alignment? What about that spiritual alignment? What about us being who we're supposed to be becoming so difficult nowadays? Why is it so difficult? It's not supposed to be like that. It's not supposed to be like that. Why can't we then, if we are alerted to the fact that we are missing in a certain place, why don't you do a turnaround at 360 degrees and say, let me evaluate myself. Let me look at me. There are people who have even discovered that they have lost themselves. They have lost themselves in what they are doing. But they just can't turn back. They feel like, you know what, I can't do without that. They feel like I can't do without my job. I can't do without ministry. I can't do without this. I can't do without that. But all those things are not who you are. All those things are what you can do, and you can perfect them. You are so good. You are so perfect in those things. But you have missed yourself. You have missed yourself in those. No, it is difficult. I don't think I can stay in. I'm one of the common ones. I don't think I can be a housewife. It will never work. I'll just suffocate. I'll just, and you sit and think, what will happen if they dropped you tomorrow at your office? What will happen? Who would you become? Because in most cases, situations can happen, so haphazardly that they will draw us or give us an opportunity to check who we are, to evaluate who we are, to know exactly who we are, where we are, and how we are supposed to refine the us, the being as a human being. Those situations, sometimes they can hit you so hard that you don't even see that opportunity to evaluate yourself. They can hit you so hard that you feel like what you have lost is actually who you are, whereas what you have lost is what you could do. It's not necessarily who you are. But you find that people lose themselves on that. People lose themselves in the process of doing things, but they don't figure out how to become that being that they really need and that their spouse really, really need. Why do we fail to create a balance? Why do we get so consumed, by things happening all around us? Why do we get the fear? You can never be content in being a husband or in being a wife unless you understand who you are, who you're supposed to be. Not what you are or what you're supposed to do, but who you are and who you are supposed to be. I can blow my own horn and say, you know what, I'm the best husband. My wife is happy, my kids are happy, I'm the best father and things like that. But to be honest with you, the only people who can tell me that the only person who can tell me that I'm a best husband is my wife, not me. The only people who can tell me that I'm a good father is my kids, not me. I'm not saying doubt yourself, or don't pat yourself in the back when you bought your kid a bicycle and you can see them rejoicing. Pat yourself in the back and say, thank you, Lord, that I was able to bring joy to my kid. I'm not saying don't pat yourself in the back, if you bring your wife a nice thing, or else you give her a hug that you've never given her before, and she says, you know what, I really needed that. At least pat yourself in the back and say, thank you, Lord, for giving me an opportunity to give that moment to my spouse. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about when you just keep saying, and you are in your own world where you are doing things so good, you are booming in all these things that are outside of you. Those are the things that you do. But the unfortunate part is that you have lost who you are in those things. So this is why you see a lot of people panicking whenever they see a marriage falling. They panic. They get into that anxiety mode. What if mine? What if that? It's simply because they have lost who they are in what they are doing. And that is an opportunity for one to turn back and say, let me turn my life around. Let me become a different person. Let me become who I am supposed to be, because I can easily get lost in what I am doing. We've seen a lot of people, they get lost in what they are doing, to a point where they don't even know who they are. They don't even know how they get where they got. They don't even understand, how they got where they got. There are people who are focused on careers. There are people who are focused, and I'm talking about married folks. They are so focused, with on doing on their careers, their businesses, their jobs, their ministry, their hobbies, their this, their that. They are so focused on that, but they are missing where they are needed the most. They are missing. Do you know how many spouses are lonely, yet they are married? And that is one of the worst. That is one of the worst kind of loneliness you can ever experience. When you experience loneliness while you're married. That they are doing. They are just busy. They are committed, and justifiably so, because we have to do something. We have to work. We have to make sure that we generate income. We have to make sure that our families are well taken care of. But in the same token, you need to create a balance. You need to create a balance. So be someone who start focusing on building a solid foundation. Be someone who understands that you have to submit to the principles and the boundaries of marriage. Because if you don't, unfortunately, you are just going to miss a lot. You are just going to become someone who exists in the marriage. You are going to end up having a spouse who is miserable, even though when you're doing everything, thinking that all that you're doing is great. But you are going to end up having someone who's miserable. And you wonder, how long will this person actually take this? How long will it take this person to realize that I am lonely in this marriage? Yes, they are doing all they're doing so good. And the puzzling part is that when you raise that concern, it's more like, you are nagging. It's more like, you don't understand. I have to do this. But we forget that in actual fact, sometimes we just get so addicted. We get so addicted to doing things right, but we fail to get addicted to being the right person, especially for our spouses. And when that addiction has got you, that is where you start defending yourself for your absence, in your spouse's life. You will defend it, and you will defend it with the right reasons, because you are doing right. You will defend it with the right reasons. because whatever that you're doing is right. But are you the right person? Are you the right person? This is about the who in you, not the what in you. Why do we find a number of people being lonely and miserable in their marriages in the presence of their spouses? We fail to create a balance. We fail to create a balance. Bongogazi, it's painful, and you ask yourself, why should I commit myself? It has to be painful, because what your heart yearns for is that commitment, is that a sense of belonging, is that acknowledgement that, you know what, by the way, I have a spouse, and that spouse feels the same way as well. And then they pay attention. But if they don't, it's going to be painful. Kumi says, it happened to me close to 8 years. I just had to walk away. That is an unfortunate thing. It's really unfortunate that you had to walk away. But imagine 8 years. 8 years talking, inquiring, alerting this person, this is where we are. I'm not happy. We have to do things differently. Can we create a balance? Can we work together? Can you be present? But they are just so addicted to what they are doing, so much that they lose who they are. It happens. And it's not such a difficult thing to actually do self-introspection. It's not such a difficult thing to sit back and say, where am I going? What am I doing wrong? Where am I missing? And things like that. It is just that we've got so much pride, and we want to feed the addiction. We want to feed the addiction because we are so used to that addiction. We are so used that we are good at what we do. We are so good at that. And we have been so inclined to that. Too much. So much that we don't even listen when we are told that you are missing in this area. You are missing. And remember, if you don't learn to fix yourself for your marriage is an environment that will fix you. Your spouse has the right to say, let's sit and talk about this because you are missing. I am lonely. I don't feel like this is good. We have to do things differently. We have to work things better. And if you are someone who just hates to be confronted with things that you are actually not doing right, unfortunately, marriage is going to suffocate you, or you're going to suffocate your spouse. Why don't we evaluate our walk, our journey of marriage before our spouses can even play that part? Why does it have to take situations whereby we see marriages failing for us to say, let me step back and evaluate myself? Am I the right person? Am I the right husband? And let me be honest with you, only your spouse can affirm that for you. You can't. Don't you dare think that the more money you make, the things you do so well, they make you a good spouse. Your spouse is the one who can tell you that you are on the right path. You are doing it right. And if you are stubborn and rebellious to even understand when they raise certain things, unfortunately, you will find yourself with a miserable person. And when you'll be thinking, yeah, I've got it, I'm doing right. You are going to end up being that person. So you just need to be a committing person. You just need to be someone who is conscious and intentional about where you are and how you are and who you are, most importantly, in your own marriage journey. Because if you don't, unfortunately, you are just going to suffocate your spouse. You are going to suffocate your spouse. So this is what I wanted to share with you guys. And it is just that today, I don't know why I didn't actually say, you know what, if you want to be part of the journey, The talk, please, just a request so that we can engage on this and let us share ideas on how to help others to create that balance, how to help others to commit to the foundation, to building the foundation and making sure that it is solid, so much that when things happen in marriages around us, we don't panic. When things happen, when we see marriages crumbling, when we see, when you see someone or hear someone and maybe being unfaithful or not being stubborn and rebellious in whatever they do, you don't actually carry that into your because there's a lot of people, and sometimes we are actually thinking about the fact that there's a lot of people who are influencing, our marriages. And do you know all these TV dramas that you're watching? They are the worst, because that one, you've got an enemy right on your couch. That is just how it goes. The things that you watch there, they stick in your subconscious. When I say, no, it's just drama, it's just it. But every day you talk about that drama. Did you see he backstabbed her? You did see, oh, she went and slept with his friend. She went, all those kind of things, they end up becoming part of your subconscious mind. And guess what? Very soon you'll be seeing or looking at your spouse like that, because the situations will play the same. Circumstances will play the same. And now your subconscious will draw from what you fed it and say, remember that guy was doing this on his phone. Now your husband is doing that on the phone. Oh, that lady, she was out and this is what she was doing. And now, on that drama, that is how she was. And now you see there's some similarities with, these things, we take them for granted and we don't understand how they actually impact our psychology. But now, are you someone who says, let me pull back? No, this is not for me. Let me pull back. Let me fix myself. And here's the thing. Sometimes we only want to go to prayer. We only want to go to God. We only want to go to the Word of God when we are facing situations. We only want to fix the situations, but we don't want to fix us. We don't allow God. We don't allow the Word. We don't allow the prayer to fix us. We only want them to fix the situation. And that is where the problem is, because I can tell you, it is not God's responsibility to fix the situation. God has to fix you so that you can be able to fix the situation. God has to equip you with knowledge, information, wisdom, so you can be able to refine yourself, your abilities, your strength, your wisdom and everything, so that you can be able to fix the situation that you are facing. But if you fail to allow him to fix you, to work on you, to work with you, and when all you do, you just want to go, you want to fix this situation, that is where, in most cases, you see people depressed, you see people no longer functioning well. That's where you see people no longer making it, because we always want to fix other people. Babes, I feel like, you are not here. Yeah, I think you are becoming a workaholic. I think you're doing this. You see, now you don't understand. Now you want to be nagging. We need the money. We need this. Instead of say, you know what, let me evaluate the process, or let's do it together. Can you show me where I am actually maybe missing it? No, love. Every day when you come to the house, you are just tired. Every day you are tired. We either get to the house same time, we are both tired, or else you are in the house. When you get here, I'm waiting for my baby for the whole day, and then the first thing he or she says is, "Yo, I am so tired," and that thing just dismantles you. Because the reality is that we give almost 99% of our lives to the things out there. Do you know that there are couples who don't even have holidays? They don't even have time to themselves. There are couples who can't even go on holiday and sit, just the two of them. Trust me, there are couples who cannot just be together for 2 hours, just sitting together. There are couples who cannot have a conversation just the two of them. And it happens. If the conversation happens, it's only about responsibilities, the job, the ministry, the children, the bills, the cars, the this, the that. That is their way of communicating. And they thinking they're communicating, but they're just merely talking to one another because they are not talking about themselves. They're talking about their responsibilities. There's a thin line. There is a very thin line. So every day of their lives, day after day, year after year, they are just on the same route, and nobody turns and say, but Emma, are we still who we're supposed to be to one another? Are we still who we were meant to be? Are we still the same loving, kind, understanding, affectionate spouses that we are meant to be? We don't get to that because we get consumed. We get consumed about being right there, doing right for people's companies, for businesses, for ministries. And you have to. Sometimes you do right at fixing other people's problems, but yours. Sometimes you do right at helping people to create and do things well, but you. Sometimes you are so good at being so right in that area. You are so good at doing so right, but you are so bad at being so right. So we need to create a balance. We need to create a balance, and that balance can only happen if we become humble, if we understand the importance of the marriage journey, if we understand the foundation, the basic principles and boundaries. Because if we don't do that, it is just unfortunate that the world will take us from pillar to post, take us from there, and the world will use you. The world will use you. And that is why you see when people are good at what they do, given their whole life at what they do, the moment and that time comes where they have to be cut from that which they were doing, either being it a job, be it a business. We have seen that even during the COVID. We have seen that people did not know who they were. They did not understand who they were, but they knew they could do this and that better. They can do it so right. They can do it so well, but they failed to understand who they were. They failed to take the opportunity to deal with who they were, because now there was no chance for you to go and do what you were supposed to do. There was no opportunity for you to go and do that right thing so right that you've been doing so well. You had to now deal with yourself. You now had to face yourself. And the moment you start taking an opportunity to want to face yourself because you are forced by the situation, you then become a stranger to the person that you're married to. This is why we're doing a lot of Zoom sessions during that period, because we realized that a lot of people could not understand themselves, and they were given that opportunity to be in confinement so that they can now seek to understand who they were, so they can get to a point where they start learning about themselves. They've learned so much about what they do. They've grasped so much. They have got all the information. They've got all the wisdom, the qualifications to do what they can do so right and so well. But they failed to be so right and to be so well. Now that here is a situation that forces you to be right and to be well, you feel like your spouse is suffocating you. You feel like your spouse is nagging. You are not used to this environment. You're not used to staying in the house for the whole day. You're not used to be around your spouse 24/7. You're not used to even talk to only one person 24/7, because what you were doing out there, it was exposing you to different places, different people and things like that. But at the same time, you could not even make time for yourself. You could not even make time for your spouse. That is why you heard that a lot of marriages were crumbling. So now we have this opportunity that we could learn from that situation and be right. We now have this opportunity that we can just, evaluate our love journey. We can just try and look at who we are, where we are as a person, as individuals, so that we can be able to check if indeed our spouses are part of our lives. Are they part of our lives, or we are just existing together with them? Yes, coming home every day. Yes, sleeping on the same bed. Yes, eating the same food. Yes, watching the same TV program, listening to the same music. But remember, those are external things. Are you even able to just sit with your spouse without anything, without looking at the cell phones, without listening to music, without watching a program? Whether can you just sit, the two of you? Can you just take a holiday, take a weekend somewhere, just go there and sit on the balcony in the tranquility of nature and just listen to the birds or whatever sounds that you can hear at night or during the day? Just be the two of you and just converse, have conversation about the two of you. Can you do that? Can you really stay in the house with your spouse for days without any disturbance, without anything else? Can you do that? And I can tell you that there are couples who struggle to do that. They can't relate. I remember at some point I even shared that this is the reason why those of us who grew up in that era of a migrant labor, where when our dads, this actually dawned to me when we went to a divorce court, and then we found these elderly people, elderly people who were filing for divorce, and it's simply because all through the years, after having been married for 30, 40 years, raised children, build homes and everything, now one retires. When he retires, stays at home, now he's a stranger because he has to start from scratch trying to understand who he is, because he lost himself in the corporate space. Now he has to try and also understand his wife. She wants to try and understand who is this man, because now he doesn't have a job anymore. Now it's just us. We have to now imagine at that age, now they're trying to get to know each other at that age. No energy. Now they've got a lot of time. I'm saying a lot of time because now there's nothing disturbing them. The one is retired. Now they are at home. Instead of enjoying their lives, instead of enjoying more than the pension funds they're getting and everything, instead of just enjoying their company, they have to start from scratch at that age. And now you realize that I was actually married to a stranger. I was married to a stranger. Imagine, for years and years, you're married to a stranger. And that person becomes a stranger only when the situation forces them to stay with you. Now you feel this is a stranger. And now do I have the time and energy to start again, becoming one with this person, aligning myself spiritually, mentally, emotionally with this person? Now you have to start from scratch. Do you have the energy to start the friendship? Do you have the energy to say, now let's start a hobby? What can we do? How can we do it? And that happens a lot. That is why you see a lot of people divorce at a late stage in their lives, because now it's strangers. It's like Nelly Jola all along, all the years, because only come home after work, meals are cooked, we have sex, we make babies, we take care of the bills. The following day, wake up, go to work. It's a routine for years and years. Nothing else happens. Perhaps one day we're also going to engage on the ideas that can help you, especially young couples, the newlyweds, where you have to create things that will help you to become the best of friends. Create your marriage an environment that says this is where you belong, so that at least they don't grow as strangers and then end up divorcing as strangers. But they grow as friends, and when it comes a point where they both retire from whatever that they are doing, or else they learn to do things together, but that when the time comes where they are old enough to to say we don't have time anymore, we don't, it's not a question of who are you. Imagine at the age of 60 you asking your spouse, who are you? Because it happens. So I believe that we can actually do better. I believe that we can be the best that we supposed to be if we embark on becoming one. Remember, it is about the who more than the what. Focus more on who you're supposed to be, who you are, more than what you can do, what you can give. And you know that we always push boundaries out there. You know that we always break walls out there because we want to succeed in whatever that we are doing. But the same energy should be invested in our marriages. The same energy should be invested in our spouses, so that you don't grow up. You don't grow to be strangers. You don't grow to exist together, but you live together intentionally, so whereby you know your spouse. Whereby you know your spouse to a point whereby yo, hey, I saw your husband with so and so. No. I know that is his so and so. Or else you know that if somebody lies about your spouse, you already know that is not my spouse. But I can tell you now that people are not content in their marriages. They go crazy when someone says, "Yo, I saw your husband, this lady in your husband's car." Already you want to kill someone before you even find out if it's true or who that person was. Before already you want to kill someone, simply because you guys are not content in being spouses. So we can do better. We can do better. I'm left with only about 17-18 minutes. So again, let me extend this invitation. If you want to be a guest, please let it be. Just let me know. A request. I don't know how this thing works. You know. I would actually just invite you in so that you can just join in and let us just share these ideas with people who are struggling, people who cannot create a balance, between being a husband and being this person that being this and doing what you're supposed to do. People who are struggling with being a wife and in doing and doing what they're supposed to do. But we just need to create that balance. We just need to help each other to create a balance so that we don't find ourselves living with strangers. We don't find ourselves married to strangers. We don't find ourselves with people. One day, when you are having lunch with your kids and everything, and then there's a knock at the door and says, "That is your other son." Because we just don't pay attention to one another, because we just don't revisit our covenant. We are happy as long as things are happening, things are being done at home, things are just going. We are happy with that. But you don't even know, you don't even understand how your spouse makes money, where do they work, how much money they make. And I know as long as life is going, that's all that you care about. And that is where the danger is sometimes, and you can change that. The process of oneness is so delicate that it would require a lot of things to be dealt with. We're going to get to that perhaps on our next live. It requires a lot to be dealt with, because for me to get to my spouse, or for my spouse to get to me and to understand and to know the me that I am, the who that I am, there's a whole lot of layers that needs to be removed. But it's just unfortunate that when people get married, they don't want to deal with those layers. They don't want to remove those layers. Could be layers of trauma. It could be layers of pain and disappointments. It could be layers of things, of ordeals. It could be layers of bad habits. It could be layers of things that has happened. They just created a layer and layer on top of another and suppressing the real person that you're supposed to be with. We are going to talk about that because that is something that I believe, especially newlyweds, needs to learn. They need to understand that there are times for a honeymoon, and and sometimes we mix the honeymoon with the honeymoon, and we think these are ones that actually two different things. And the more we engage on this as time goes on, we will just unpack on this. So guys, I love you so much, and thank you for connecting with me tonight and spending this time. We will connect again. So sometimes I will connect here on TikTok, and sometimes I will actually connect on Facebook. I wish there was a way that I could actually do it both, where we go live, on both platforms. But I believe that you can be content in your marriage. You can be a good husband, you can be a good wife, you can be a good person, you can be right, you can be the right person, you can be the right person to be with, and you can do so right while you are also being the right person yourself. Just close that gap so that you can be able to learn, on the marriage journey, because we grow every day. Trust me. If you hear anybody telling you that they've actually arrived in marriage, they are lying to you, because the person that I am today, I am not that very same person that I was 10 years ago. So there is a process of growth, which does not necessarily change the foundation upon which my life is built, but it enhances it, and I grow on that. And as things come and go, as certain things changes in my life, I still revisit. I visit the foundation so that I make sure that I'm still building on that same solid foundation with basic principles and boundaries. So no one has arrived. We learn, we grow every day. We change our way of doing things. We change our hobbies every now and then. We try new things. There's a lot that we embark on as we grow, and we just need to embrace that process, but at the same time keep the principles and boundaries of marriage, keep the principles and boundaries, the basic boundaries of love, so that we can be able to fare well on the journey. We need to do away with the panics. If marriages fail, let them fail. Let it not touch yours. If you see people falling, let them fall, but let it not touch yours. And don't let your mind be drawn to that. And then you start behaving the same way in your own marriage. That is not how things should be. You got to be you, and at the same time, you got to walk hand in hand. For how can the two walk together unless they are in agreement? And you can only be in agreement if you check up on one another, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and in every way. When you revisit your covenant and check if you are still building together, and check if you're still facing the same direction, check if you're still working on who you are, to align yourselves to one another, just to strengthen the covenant. Because without doing that, unfortunately, we will always get these anxieties and doubts and panic should things happen around marriages. Even if your marriage is fine, you don't need to be lonely in your marriage. You don't need to be miserable in your marriage. You don't need to cause issues in your marriage. You don't have to. You don't have to impose injustices on your marriage, on your spouse. You don't have to. And the more you actually commit to doing that, to being the right person, that is the more you're going to eliminate a whole lot of things which you would not even have to fight. But because you are principled and you've got boundaries, those things, they will just come and hit the wall and fall. They will come and hit the wall and fall. And those that will at least crack the wall, you will be able to fight them together. You will be able to face them together. Do not bring things in your marriage that will make your spouse to fight alone, because they will end up fighting you. Because if you bring issues, then you become an issue. Then they end up fighting you. And guess what? If they fight you, you guys fight each other, that marriage is really heading for destruction. And we don't need that, because we know that there are better ways to do things. There are better ways to do things. There are better ways that you can follow, you can pursue to be the best person for you and for your spouse. Certain things are just common sense. Certain things, trust me, being faithful, it's common sense. Being honest, it's common sense. You married someone because you love them. Loving someone should be common sense. Respecting should be common sense. Understanding, forgiving, that should be common sense. Why does it have to be difficult? Why do we have to be pushed to be the right person? If we are not the right person and we are already in marriage, why don't we seek help? Why don't I evaluate myself and say, let me seek help because I'm failing in this area? Why do I always have to wait for my spouse to sound an alarm? Or why do I always have to put my spouse through a lot, just so I can be the right person? Why can't I do that? Why can't I do that? Because I can. I can. If you are a spouse, if you are married already, you can. Earlier on, we were engaging, not earlier on today, even yesterday, we were engaging on Radio 2000 about this lady who agreed to go with it, to marry this guy once it's a mahadi, go stay with his mom, and I'm like, shouldn't that be common sense though? You are getting married, you are being a husband. Now, if you don't understand how to be a husband, don't get married. If you don't understand what it takes to be a husband, then seek help. Seek help, seek guidance. If you don't understand how to be a spouse, seek wisdom, seek information, connect yourself with the right people. Let them help you to walk the journey. But why do you want to be stubborn and continue to do things, that are not conducive for marriage? Because you are breaking one about. You are breaking somebody else, and that marriage is not going to get anywhere. So all I'm saying is that we do have an opportunity to evaluate our walk in the marriage and to choose to be right, to choose to make right with God, to make right with ourselves, to make right with our spouses. We do have that opportunity. But the question is, do we overcome the issue of pride? Do we overcome the issue of shame? Do we overcome the dysfunctions that are distracting us from becoming who we're supposed to be? Or we just let them walk all over us? We just let them control us while our spouses are miserable? Why do we have to do that? And yeah, we can be better persons. We can be better people. We can. That's why I don't understand the issue of me wanting to be better just because I got caught doing something wrong. Doesn't make sense to me. Me wanting to be better because now my wife wants me to be better. My husband wants me to be better. Why should it be that? Why can't I always check myself as a person, do self-introspection from time to time as an individual to become the right person? Why can't we do that? Why do we always have to be told? Why do you always have to be forced? Why do you always have to be, every time you have to be nagged to stop behaving in a certain way that is not conducive for marriage? You are actually making your spouse to panic whenever they see marriages failing, because you are walking in a path that leads to that. So you can't expect them to be positive while you are actually walking in separate directions. Then there will be panic. If something happens, there will be panic, So hence you're going to have to decide and say, I need to do things right. I can't continue living like this. I can't continue being this person. I can't continue being this individual that makes my spouse to hurt, that makes my spouse to always cry, that makes my spouse to be miserable and lonely. The bottom line is that when it happens, even worse when they alert you to the fact that, hey, I am miserable. Hey, I am unhappy. You need to get to a point where you're even open enough to say to your spouse, hey, I wanna hearing about the divorce of so and so, it makes me panic. It creates panic. It gives me anxiety because I feel like we are not on the right path. I feel like we are missing something. Can we work on that? So that at least should things like that happen, I'll be content. I will not panic. I will not struggle. I will just be content knowing that I've got a spouse whom I'm walking in agreement with, I'm walking in one accord with, and this person is committed as much as I am committed. You need to be able to have those conversations with your spouse. You need to be able to do that, because if you don't, you find that you're facing two different directions. And then you panic alone, you have anxiety alone, when this person is feeling like, you know what, things are just we've had this even at our couples retreats. We've had that where the lady or the husband will raise something and the spouse would be like, I thought we were fine. Imagine, I thought we were fine. Oh, maybe this is the topic that should be on the next live. I thought we were fine. I thought we were fine. Think about it. You thought you were fine. You thought. And that is a thought that only you had in your mind, whereas your spouse is not. Worse if they were also even sharing with you why certain things are not fine, why you guys were not fine. But according to you, because perhaps you are busy doing what you're supposed to do and forgetting about who you're supposed to be, you thought everything is fine. No, I thought we were fine. Now, this is definitely the topic on our next live. I thought we were fine. You need to get to a point where you don't thought. You know that we are fine. And when you're not fine, you know that you're not fine. You need to get to that point. You can't just let things be. You can't just go with the flow as if you were not intentional about getting married. Excuse me. So all I'm saying is that let us encourage one another. Let us make sure that we walk this journey with commitment, in love, in peace. Like we have to be intentional. We have to be intentional about our marriages, because if we are not, anything can just come in between and anything can just break us. We have to be intentional. If you're not intentional, trust me, you are not going to make it. If you just want to go with the flow, you are not going to make it. You are not going to make it, because whatever flow that comes might lead you into a path that you actually not even supposed to walk, or it's going to frustrate you. It's going to suffocate you. Then you will feel like, I know this marriage thing is not working. This marriage thing is not for me. It is for you. You are married already. It is for you. It is a matter of, are you married to the right person? Are you married to someone who's committed to being right for you? Because there's a lot of right persons, but that does not necessarily mean that they are right for you. That is why sometimes when people break up in this relationship, in the next relationship, it just blooms. They become the best people. It's simply because the person was right, but not right for you. And that is why you had to separate. That is why you had to break up. Hence, they are blooming in whatever relationship they are in. And that is why you're also blooming in the relationship that you are in. Simply because we were right, but we were not right for each other. And it happens, unfortunately. But if you're already married, make sure that you work on becoming right for one another intentionally. So both of you together walk in one accord, Work together as one, because you can make it work. You can make it work. It's 11 o'clock. And I have to say, I love you guys. Continue loving one another. Please be intentional. Love one another. Love one another. Love one another. And if you do that, you're going to be good. This is me, Taboa Hamachi. And yeah, as you can see, before I forget, we have our couples retreat. It's coming on the 7th of February. We are going to Kruger National Park, Chechani Game Reserve. So if you want to be part of it, please just check the website on the link, or you can even DM me. Then I can give you all the information, and then you just join us, because we believe in growing together in our marriage. We need to learn from one another. We need to learn from you as you learn from us, as we engage on issues, as we do things that makes our marriages a conducive space. I love you guys. We'll connect once again. Bye-bye.